The greatest tragedy is not death, nor loss, nor betrayal. The greatest tragedy is to live surrounded by blindness, where the eyes are open, yet the mind refuses to see. Look around you. You will find men and women drowning in illusions, clutching lies as if they were truths, and protecting weakness as if it were strength. They smile, they celebrate, they pretend to be alive. But within they are prisoners of shadows. This is not life. This is the slow decay of the soul. What is worse than a blind world is not the blindness itself, but the willingness of people to remain blind. They do not want to see the harshness of reality, the cruelty of power, or the chains that bind them. They choose comfort over clarity, sleep over awakening. But hear me. Those who dare to see, those who refuse to walk among the blind, carry a fire within them that no darkness can extinguish. They become dangerous, unshakable, and free. And in a world built on illusions, freedom is the rarest and most feared power of all. Most people do not live in truth. They live in illusions, carefully crafted by their own fear. Illusions are comforting, because they protect us from the sharp edges of reality. They whisper that life is fair, that goodness alone guarantees reward, that loyalty is always repaid, that love will always last. These illusions soothe the heart, but they weaken the mind. The truth is far less gentle. The world is neither fair nor merciful, and those who rely only on their innocence are often the first to be devoured. Yet people cling to illusions because to let go would mean admitting how fragile, exposed, and small they truly are. Illusion gives the weak man courage, but it is a borrowed courage, as hollow as smoke. Still, he prefers the lie because it allows him to walk through life without trembling, even if he is walking blindly toward the abyss. What makes illusion so dangerous is not simply its existence, but the way it convinces the blind man that he can see. The false belief of safety is worse than danger itself, for it makes people unprepared for the storm when it arrives. They do not study power. They do not question loyalty. They do not test the ground they walk upon, because illusion assures them that everything will remain steady. The illusion of friendship makes betrayal cut deeper. The illusion of security makes sudden collapse unbearable. The illusion of love makes abandonment shatter the soul. Illusion paints the world with false colors, and when reality washes them away, the world feels darker than it ever was. This is why those who live in illusion suffer twice, once from the lie itself, and again from the brutal awakening that follows. Illusion is seductive because it feels like hope, but it is nothing more than a prison. Hope without action is a chain, and illusion feeds this kind of false hope endlessly. People tell themselves that tomorrow will be better simply because they wish it so. They trust that fortune will turn in their favor without daring to wrestle it into submission. They look at suffering and declare it temporary, but they take no steps to end it. Illusion gives them the luxury of waiting while the world passes them by. This is why so many grow old with regret, realizing too late that their belief in tomorrow's promise was the very reason they wasted today. Illusion does not soften reality. It only delays its blow, and the longer the delay, the heavier the strike. The comfort of illusion also lies in numbers. A man rarely clings to his illusions alone. He surrounds himself with others who believe the same lies. They create a community of blindness, each one confirming the other, each one silencing the voice of reason that dares to rise. It is easier to remain blind when everyone around you refuses to see. The blind crowd laughs together, sings together, even celebrates its blindness as wisdom. But when truth appears, it does not strike the group softly. It destroys them all at once. They will call the truth cruel. They will call the one who speaks it dangerous, because nothing is more frightening than the collapse of an illusion that 1,000 voices once swore was unbreakable. And so they resist truth, not because it is false, but because it threatens the walls of their fragile shelter. In the end, the greatest tragedy of illusion is that it kills the strength of the soul before the world ever does. Illusion makes men timid, unwilling to confront pain, unwilling to fight for clarity, unwilling to sharpen their spirit against the blade of reality. It teaches them that ignorance is peace, but peace without truth is slavery. To be blind in a blind world is not survival, it is surrender. Yet still, they prefer illusion, for it requires nothing of them but obedience to lies. Illusion asks no courage, no sacrifice, no struggle, only silence. And that is why so many surrender their lives without ever having truly lived, smiling in blindness, never knowing that their comfort was the very reason their strength was lost. To see the truth in a blind world is not a gift, it is a burden. The one who sees does not find peace in his clarity, he finds isolation. While others laugh in ignorance, he cannot laugh with them, for his eyes reveal the hidden cruelty behind their joy. He recognizes the false promises, the silent betrayals, the invisible chains that bind men to illusions. And so he carries a weight that few could endure. To see what others refuse to see is to walk alone, despised not because you are wrong, but because you are right. The burden of sight is loneliness, for truth is rarely welcomed and often hated. Men cling to blindness as if it were salvation, and when someone tears the veil away, they call him heartless, arrogant, even evil. They would rather destroy the one who sees than admit they have been blind all along. The burden of sight is also the knowledge that strength is not evenly distributed. To see clearly is to recognize how fragile most people are, how easily broken, how quickly deceived. It is to realize that fairness does not govern the world, that those who wait for justice often wait until death. The seer knows that power bends morality, that fear commands obedience, and that the majority prefer comfort over freedom. This knowledge does not make life easier, it makes it heavier. For when you see reality's true face, you lose the sweet intoxication of illusion forever. You cannot unsee the machinery of power, the hollowness of promises, the cruelty of fate. Every interaction becomes sharper, every word more transparent, every betrayal easier to predict. Sight grants wisdom, but wisdom is a fire that burns as much as it illuminates. To carry sight is also to carry responsibility. Once you see the truth, you can no longer pretend blindness without betraying yourself. You must act with the clarity you possess, even when the world resists you. And action in a blind world is dangerous. It sets you apart, it exposes you, it makes you a threat. For the blind do not forgive the one who sees. They fear him, envy him, and in time they will move against him. The burden of sight is that you must constantly decide whether to speak or to remain silent, whether to reveal truth and ignite hatred, or to hold your tongue and watch lies spread like poison. Neither choice is light. To speak truth is to invite war. To stay silent is to betray the fire within. And so the one who sees is trapped in a constant struggle, not with the world alone, but with his own conscience. What makes the burden heavier is that sight does not guarantee victory. To see clearly does not mean you can always act effectively, for even with vision, the world remains a battlefield filled with forces beyond your control. The one who sees understands danger, but understanding does not always prevent it. He recognizes the treachery of men, but recognition does not always shield him from their knives. He knows that power corrupts, but knowing does not stop corruption. The burden of sight is therefore also the agony of watching inevitable tragedies unfold, powerless to stop them. Others suffer blindly, not knowing what destroyed them. But the one who sees suffers twice, once in the seeing and again in the enduring. He feels the wound before it strikes, and then again when it arrives. His foresight saves him from illusion, but it cannot save him from pain. Silas's hand fell on his side. His eyes. Silas's foresight saves him from illusion, but it cannot save him from pain. His eyes suffer saves him from illusion, but it cannot save him from pain. And yet, despite the weight, sight cannot be abandoned once it is gained. There is no return to blindness, no return to illusions that once comforted the mind. The eyes that open remain open, whether the soul desires it or not. And so the burden becomes a destiny. The one who sees must bear loneliness, suspicion, and struggle. He must live with the knowledge that truth is not a crown, but a cross. And though the blind may mock him, exile him, even destroy him, the burden he carries is also his greatest strength. For while sight makes life heavier, it also makes the soul unbreakable. He is no longer a prisoner of shadows, no longer deceived by painted illusions. He suffers, yes, but his suffering is real, and from that reality he draws a power that the blind will never know. Awakening is not a gentle experience. It is violent. It is the tearing apart of illusions that once held you together, the breaking of chains you did not know you wore. To awaken is to feel the world crash against you with unbearable force, stripping away every comfort you once believed eternal. At first, it feels like destruction, not liberation. The awakened man sees that the world is not kind, that men are not loyal, that justice does not arrive uninvited. He sees that every breath of freedom must be fought for, and every inch of strength must be carved from suffering. Awakening is pain, but it is a pain that reshapes the soul into something unyielding. Those who survive it become different, marked forever by the fire that burned away their blindness. What gives awakening its power is not what it reveals, but what it demands. It demands courage where once there was fear. It demands action where once there was passivity. It demands responsibility where once there was blame. The awakened man can no longer excuse his failures with lies, for he knows that the world is not obligated to carry him. He must either rise on his own or be crushed beneath those who will. Awakening removes the luxury of self-deception, and though it wounds the heart with its severity, it empowers the will with its truth. The weak crumble under this burden, but those who endure discover a power that blinds the blind even more than their own illusions ever could. Awakening also awakens the will to power. The blind drift like leaves in the wind, tossed by circumstance, deceived by promises, guided by others' commands. But the awakened man becomes a storm. He sees that fortune is not a goddess to be prayed to, but a force to be mastered. He no longer asks for opportunities, he creates them. He no longer pleads for freedom, he seizes it. The awakened soul does not wait for the world to show mercy because he knows mercy is rare and fleeting. Instead, he sharpens himself into something formidable, someone who commands respect not through words, but through undeniable presence. This transformation makes him dangerous, for a man who has awakened cannot be controlled by illusions, cannot be enslaved by false promises, cannot be silenced by fear. He becomes the rarest kind of human, truly free. The power of awakening lies also in vision. Where once the world seemed chaotic, meaningless, or hostile, the awakened man sees patterns, sees causes, sees hidden hands that guide events. He sees where the weak will fall, where the strong will rise, where betrayal will emerge, where opportunity will strike. His clarity gives him the ability to act with precision while others stumble blindly in confusion. It is not that the awakened never fail, but when they fail, they learn. When they are betrayed, they expect it. When they suffer, they transform suffering into strength. Every wound becomes a lesson, every loss a sharpening of will, every obstacle a test that forges endurance. The blind collapse under the weight of their tragedies, but the awakened stand taller, for they see that the world is not against them, it is simply indifferent, and indifference can be conquered by force of will. The ultimate power of awakening is that it makes a man untouchable where it matters most. He may lose wealth, he may lose allies, he may even lose battles, but he will never again lose himself. For the awakened man cannot be deceived into surrendering his spirit. He knows who he is, what he faces, and what he must do. That certainty is an armor no enemy can pierce. The blind live in comfort until reality destroys them. The awakened live in struggle, yet become indestructible. And though awakening isolates, though it demands pain, though it strips away illusion after illusion until nothing false remains, what is left is something so rare it is feared by the world itself, a human being who cannot be broken. The tragedy of blindness is not only in the loss of vision, but in the refusal to see. We began with the comfort of illusion, the soft prison that men willingly enter to avoid the sharpness of reality. Illusion offers peace without truth, hope without substance, and companionship without depth. It is a counterfeit life, where people smile while chained, where they sing inside their cages, never knowing they were meant to break them. And though illusion feels warm, it rots the soul from within, leaving men fragile when the storm arrives. It is not safety they embrace, but silence, and silence is the enemy of strength. Then comes the burden of sight, the heavy crown carried by those who awaken to truth. To see is to be set apart, to walk in isolation, to feel the sting of clarity while others laugh in blindness. Sight tears away illusions and leaves the rawness of reality exposed. It is a gift that feels like a wound, for it demands courage, demands responsibility, demands action. Those who see are hated not because they deceive, but because they expose deception. They live with knowledge that others fear. They walk with clarity that others despise, and in this struggle they are made strong. To carry sight is to carry fire, and fire both illuminates and burns. But within awakening lies the true transformation. Awakening is pain, but it is the kind of pain that breaks weakness and leaves only steel behind. It strips away illusions, yes, but in their place it plants unshakable certainty. The awakened man sees clearly, acts decisively, and refuses to live as a servant of lies. He understands that freedom is not given, but seized, that fortune is not prayed for, but mastered, that suffering is not an enemy, but a teacher. He becomes ungovernable by fear, unreachable by deceit, untouchable by the very illusions that enslave the masses. And though awakening is lonely, though it isolates the soul, it also gives a power that no enemy can destroy. The power of becoming unbreakable. This is the path, then, from comfort to burden to awakening. It is not gentle, it is not easy, and it is not kind. But it is real. And in the end, reality, with all its cruelty, gives more strength than illusion ever could. For to remain blind is to live as prey, waiting for the world to devour you. To awaken is to step into the storm, scarred but standing, wounded but free. The blind will curse you, the weak will envy you, and the world will test you. But none of it will break you. For the one who sees, the one who awakens, becomes something the blind will never understand. A soul that walks in truth, unafraid of shadows, untouchable by lies, and alive in a way they will never be. Thank you for listening. May your eyes remain open, may your heart remain strong, and may your spirit remain unbroken. God bless you.